MicroBrewr Podcast, Session 20.
Welcome to MicroBrewr Podcast, inspiring you as you start your own microbrewery or take your existing brewery to the next level. Here's your host, Nathan Pierce.
Welcome to episode 20 of MicroBrewr Podcast. We're out of the teens now into episode 20. This is so cool. The podcast is still going strong. I'm your host, Nathan Pierce. This is my 8th episode after taking over for Joe Shellerud. This is my 7th interview going up today, and it still feels kind of weird. It's totally fun, and I'm learning a lot. I feel really privileged to be able to talk to so many brewers and brewery owners and learn directly from the guests in that way. It's super cool. If you like this podcast also, if you're getting a lot out of it, please subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher. It'll automatically send you every episode when it comes out. And if you want a link to MicroBrewr in iTunes, you could go to microbrewer.com/iTunes. There's a link there to find it. We have show notes for all of the episodes at microbrewer.com. That's where we have a few notes about each episode, and we have links to the books and the other resources that we mention in each episode. So go to the website for the show notes and other content at microbrewer.com. This episode is kind of short. It's actually about the length that I'm aiming for, but a bit shorter than lots of the recent ones. I'm aiming for about 30 minutes because the podcasts that I listen to are about 30 minutes long, and podcasts that are longer is just kind of more of a commitment than I have time for usually. I listen to some podcasts that are like 45 minutes, a little bit. Hour is getting pretty long for me. But I'm doing this for you guys. I want to do what's best for the listeners. What do you guys want? So you guys, here it is. At the end of the last podcast, I kind of apologized for it being so long, and I asked for you to let me know your preference by leaving a comment in the show notes. Well, I'm recording this a few days early, but so far, no one has let me know. I love doing this podcast. It's awesome talking with all the guests and learning from them, but I want to make sure that the show suits you best. So please, let me know your preference in the show notes. They're at microbrewer.com/session20. And if you don't want to leave a comment there, I don't know, maybe you don't want others to see what you're saying, you can always send me an email directly to me. Go ahead and use the contact form at microbrewer.com/contact. There's an email form there that you can send me a message directly that way. So microbrewer.com/contact. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. In this episode, I talk with Kathy Smith and Mike Elliott from Phillipsburg Brewing Company in Phillipsburg, Montana. Kathy and her husband are the co-owners of Phillipsburg Brewing. They found this old building that was built in 1888, and they spent 3 years fixing it up, and they hired Mike to come be their pro brewer. None of them had ever owned a brewery before, and Phillipsburg has just 850 people. But their business is doing fantastic. They have a 10-barrel system now, and they're planning to be running a 50-barrel system by the end of the year. They're expanding 5 times of what they're doing now. So they have tons of awesome stuff. It was rad talking with Kathy and Mike. I feel like this episode went super, super smooth. Kathy and Mike are both really great speakers. It was like they already knew exactly how they were going to answer the questions, and it just went really smoothly, and I feel like it went really well, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Episode 20. Here's the interview. Hi, Kathy and Mike. I introduced you to the listeners. Let's take a few minutes, and you can tell us more about you and your brewery.
Well, I guess I'll start. We have been working on this little brewery for it took us about 3 years to get this old 1888 building remodeled and put together. My partner and I and my husband decided that we needed to hire a professional brewer. So we ran into Mike Elliott, who has been a saving grace to us, hired him as our brewer, and he helped put together all the workings of the brewery in the brew house, which took us, Mike, about a year to get everything together?
You know, it wasn't even that long. I think that I met you guys in January and came on full-time April 1st, and we were serving beer in August.
That's true.
Wow, that's fast.
It really went a lot faster than I thought. When they hired me, they said they wanted to be up and running by the 4th of July, and I thought, maybe New Year's would be lucky. But Kathy is a hard work, and she really pushed the project forward.
Well, hearing about the building that was built in 1888 explains the photographs. I thought it from the outside and even the inside. It reminds me of. I'm on the spot right now. Am I getting the movie title correctly? It's a Wonderful Life. That drugstore that you worked in.
Yeah. And our whole town is like that. The town's very old. It's an old mining town. The buildings are all fixed up and beautiful, and it's just, like you're walking back into history when you come to Phillipsburg.
And there's only 850 people in the town?
Absolutely, yeah. We're a very small town.
Yeah, hopefully this year we'll make a barrel of beer for every man, woman, and child in Phillipsburg. So. Perfect.
I saw that. Of course, the whole country, maybe the whole world fell in love with Montana when the movie A River Runs Through It came out. So I checked online and I saw that you're about an hour and 15 minutes from Missoula, where the movie takes place. Mm-hmm. And that's not where it was filmed, but that's another tiny town too. How do you be successful with such a small customer base?
Well, we're right in the middle of 3 bigger towns. We're about an hour and a half from Missoula, hour and a half from Helena, and an hour from Butte. So we do draw in a lot of people. It's amazing how many of our customers are brewery goers. They search out new breweries. They come and see us. We also have a fabulous candy store that's located just up the block from us that draws a lot of customers in. So it keeps busy. We keep busy with customers and tourists coming through every day. It's wonderful.
And we have such a wide range of recreation opportunity here that people come to fish or hunt or ski or bike or hike or climb mountains, and even if the brewery wasn't on their list, it turns out to be a really nice bonus that they weren't expecting.
I grew up in a small town, big city compared to you guys. Hollister, California, now has about, I don't know what the latest population is. I haven't lived there for 8 years. I think it's about 30 or 40,000 people. And we have one tiny brewery that they actually weren't even brewing the last time I was there, but somebody stuck his head in, and he's like, hey, is this such and such? He was actually looking for something different that was out of business. And it was obvious that he was from out of town. Like, he searched out Hollister, California, just to come for the beer. It's amazing how people actually seek out beer nowadays. So I imagine you guys have tons of people coming to check you out too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of beer geeks that are looking for new places to go and try.
Yeah, the beer culture here in Montana is really strong. People love their craft beer here, and they're proud of what we make in the States. So that really helps us out a lot.
So what do you guys make?
Oh, man, we got a lot of flavors. Usually we have 8 beers on tap, mostly ales during the summertime when we're really busy. So, we've got an American-style Hefeweizen, a raspberry wheat. We've got a really nice amber ale. We've got a rye PA, sometimes an IPA, imperial stout, coffee porter. And then in the wintertime, when things slow down a little bit, we'll have some lagers. We'll do a Czech Pilsner, Doppelbock, things like that.
And I saw the Otter Water Summer Pale Ale on your website. It says it's perfect for those hot days when floating on your back in a Montana river. Sounds like the perfect way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah, you bet.
Do you have river otters there?
Yeah, we do. Even from the smallest creeks up into the big rivers, the Missouri and the Clark Fork, you can find otters.
Those aren't beavers.
No, beavers are something different. These are a lot like the sea otters that you have down there in Monterey.
Totally.
Just smaller, maybe 3 feet to 4 feet long.
Yeah, I was totally correlating that to the otters here because, of course, we love our sea otters. Well, Cal State University, Monterey Bay, their mascot is a sea otter. And
there you go.
A neighbor who used to live right next door to me, I don't remember where she came from, but it was definitely not California. She moved out to California just to protect sea otters. She saw them on TV and loved them so much that she had to come out here and volunteer for one of the organizations that protect sea otters. So I would definitely have to try your Otter Water Summer Pale Ale if I was ever cruising through Phillipsburg.
Ooh, it's delicious. It's low alcohol, easy to drink, nice and hoppy. It's a good one.
Okay, thanks for broadening the picture, guys. Now let's focus it down a little bit. But first, I want to frame the discussion. Does Phillipsburg Brewing have core values, core words, or operating principles that you work by?
Absolutely. And Mike can chime in at any time. Our thought was when we started the business, first off, we had to have great beer, which we do, hire great people, which we do, and work hard and have fun. All of my employees are great. We're a big family. One of our core values is our customers are not an interruption. Doesn't matter what we're in the middle of. You stop and visit with customers and take care of them. So it's just quality in every area is what we're striving for.
Absolutely. I would echo all of that. Quality is absolutely number one. We want to be as fresh and as natural and as possible and really just put out the most perfect beer that we can every time.
Now, I like to go real deep, real fast. I hope you're okay with that. Tell us the biggest mistake you've ever made as either Mike as a brewer or Kathy as a brewery owner.
I'll go first on that one. When we were putting the brew house together and doing our business plan, we really underestimated how much product we were going to need and what our customer base was going to be like. We should have, I wish we'd have thought bigger in our plans than what we did, and not be so money conscious. We should have expanded everything at the beginning, because within 6 months we were expanding, so we could keep up with the demand. Mike, do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as in terms of operations and getting this thing started, that absolutely was the biggest mistake. Me as a brewer, I've made every single mistake there is. I've put chemicals in the hot liquor tank, and I've put hot water on top of live yeast and ruined batches. I've let equipment break down. I've done all the bad things that brewers can do here and at other places that I've worked. And something that I tell our assistant brewer Ben is that there's lots of ways to screw up, but it's hard to really ruin stuff unless you try. So mistakes are part of the game. I think it's part of being in a young industry where things are sort of not well defined. You're going to make mistakes. Kathy, this is her first brewery. This is the first brewery I've ever built. So there's bound to be mistakes, but I think that's how you get stronger and smarter. You make them, and then you learn and you move on.
We've learned a lot from our mistakes.
Well, speaking about starting small, the pictures on the website, it looks to me like a 15-barrel system that you're brewing with. Is that what you started with?
That's close. We got a 10-barrel system in-house.
Do you have any plans to upgrade soon?
Yeah, Kathy, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we've just purchased a warehouse that's big enough to hold some new brew equipment. So probably within the next year, we're planning on putting in a 50-barrel system so we can distribute. Right now, we're running out of beers as fast as Mike makes it in the tap room. So it's really hard for us to get any beer out and about and distribute. So hopefully within a year, without any unforeseen problems, we'll be up and running with a 50-barrel system also.
That's fantastic. I guess you don't have any other competition in a town as small as Phillipsburg, huh?
No.
Well, we hope to get out into the state and showcase our beers all over western Montana, the Rocky Mountain West in general.
I'm pretty speechless right now. I've heard of breweries expanding, but it's pretty awesome that you're going from a 10-barrel system to a 50-barrel system. Can we talk more about that, or are the plans kind of top secret right now?
They're sort of top secret, and it's a pretty aggressive plan, and we're all very nervous, but we're also very confident that it's going to be a good decision to make right now.
It is terribly nerve-wracking to make this huge leap into such a big system and to kind of commit ourselves to a lot of growth in a small period of time. But like we just said, the biggest mistake we made was not being ambitious enough in the beginning and not forecasting how much beer we were going to need, what the demand was going to be. So we're trying to learn from that and kind of aiming high for this next phase of the project.
Over and over again, that's what brewers and brewery owners are saying, that either they wish they would have started bigger, or at the minimum, they wish they would have planned for expansion. Very few are saying to start small. There are some who, even just on the podcast here, who I've talked to, who that's their advice. They say start small. And it seems like they've been successful with that, and they have some good arguments for it. The vast majority are saying that they wish they would have started larger. So if you could start your brewery over again, is that what you would have done, or is there something else that you would have done to have done it better?
Well, yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. We'd have had more financial backing. We kind of did it all on our own money, so it was a little stressful at times, making sure we had enough. The other thing was our staffing was so short. Mike, myself, and my husband were about the only workers we had for the first few months, so that was too much. That was a little overwhelming. So we would hire more staff and get more financial backing before we start another one.
But on the other hand, things have been going so well, it's hard to argue with the way we did it.
That's true.
So it's kind of two sides of the same coin.
Hindsight's always 20/20, right?
That's right.
So speaking of the other side of the coin, let's go to the opposite side of the spectrum. What's the best idea you've ever had for your business?
I'll let Mike talk to his invention, which I think is very cool, and that was probably his best idea. I think my best idea, and it's an old idea, but every person that works in the brewery greets people like they're in their house. You greet them when they walk through the door. You walk them to the door when they leave. I think it was just the best idea I had was hiring people better than myself. They're very good people. And Mike, you can talk about your great idea.
Oh, sure. So what Kathy's referring to is a refrigerated strip in the middle of our bar. We've got this beautiful old antique oak cabinet that we use as our bar, and we sunk a copper rail into it that's refrigerated constantly, so it gets a little frosty and you keep your cold beer on there. And it's so funny. It's just such a small thing. And people absolutely lose their minds when they come in for the first time and see this cold place to set their beer on a hot day. It's such a small touch, but it really has made a huge difference in just getting people to talk about us.
I was going to ask you about the weather, because the Otter beer speaks about the hot Montana days. So I guess it gets warm enough to where people want a cool place to hang out.
Oh yeah, it's going to be 90 today, which is awfully hot for here. I know that people in the rest of the country kind of roll their eyes at that, but it does feel really hot. We're a mile up, and so the sun beating down on you gets hot really quickly.
They still enjoy it when it's 35 below too. Last winter.
That's true. It got cold enough this winter that it actually froze all of our glycol antifreeze for our coolant system. I mean, we actually had to put heaters on the chiller that keeps the beer cold because it was freezing everything up. So we get a pretty wide range.
Did you run a heater through the bar?
Yeah. We were serving hot beer all day. No.
So has there been a moment when you realized that you finally succeeded? You're kind of a young brewery. Maybe you're still looking forward to success. How would you define that if you haven't seen success already?
I'm happy with the way things are going, but I wouldn't say that we've succeeded yet. I tell my people every day that, we're brand new. We're still babies in this game, so we need to still work hard and strive for the best we can. I'm not sure what it'll look like when we can say we've succeeded. Mike?
God, I kind of wonder, too. We've gotten some really nice accolades on the beer and some great feedback from customers and other folks in the industry. But, yeah, I'm with Kathy. I don't really know if there's an end game here, I don't know if there's a point where you can stop and say, well, we did it. That's we've time to move on to something else. I think that there's so much room to grow, personally and professionally inside this industry that it'll be hard to know exactly what it means to succeed. I mean, I think that every time I come to work, I'm really happy. So that's success right there. Kathy and I were just talking the other day about how much fun we're having. So
awesome. So what's the favorite memory since opening the brewery? Or maybe you've had a favorite event that you put on. Tell us about that.
I like all of our events. We have music every weekend. I'd have to say my favorite event is probably our 70s party that we throw every January. It's just crazy. These 800 people, everybody puts on stuff out of their closet from the 70s, and it's a great party. Also, we have reggae bands in that I think are the best. And I don't know. My memories, I think, is opening day. We still had tools laying all over the floor, all over the counter. I came down and said, we're approved, we're opening up in the morning, and everybody was just crazy excited. So I think that was my best memory, is opening day. Mike, do you have any?
Oh, man, I don't know. I think that my favorite memory is the first time the brewery was really full, which was on the opening day. I was standing on some stairs and looking out at 50, 60, 100 people drinking our beer and liking it and having a good time, and that was really remarkable. To see the fruit of your labor right there in front of you and people really enjoying it. That is a really good feeling.
That's awesome. Those are some fond memories. I know there are people out there who want to experience that same thing. So what could you tell an aspiring home brewer? What's the most important thing for someone who wants to start a brewery for them to start doing tomorrow?
Oh, boy. Start doing research on all the other breweries that have gone before us. We've gotten some great ideas from all the breweries we've visited. They've been very helpful. The brewery business is an amazing business. We're not all competition. We're all in it together. And they were very helpful to us. I would start reaching out to other brewery owners and brewers and asking questions. And be ready to work long days.
I think that's fantastic. Absolutely. Go meet the other guys in your area, guys and gals. Ask if you can shadow a brew, and people will let you pick their brains to a surprising extent.
Thanks. And now we have a question from one of our listeners, Adine McEwen, who asks, what's your favorite beer?
Well, my favorite is the Otter Water.
I love our raspberry wheat. All my brewer friends make fun of me for drinking fruit beer, but I just love it.
Okay, why do you guys like those ones?
I like the Otter Water because of the low alcohol, but it's really crisp and it's just very good. You just can't stop drinking it. Very good.
I'm the same way. I'm kind of a light beer weenie. I love to drink beer as a hobby, and so low alcohol beers are really important to me. And God, I just love a beer that is delicious and refreshing that you don't have to work at.
I'm looking up the ABVs. So the Razoo raspberry wheat is 5.5% alcohol.
And is that what's on the website? That's a little high.
Really?
Yeah, it's 5%.
And then the Otter Water Summer Pale Ale is 4.5%.
Yeah.
Summertime beer.
Yes, they're wonderful.
Okay, now it's time for happy hour. The next set of questions, they're a little bit lighter. We're going to get to know each other a little better, have some fun, and get inside the industry. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
You bet.
Cans or bottles?
Cans.
Yeah,
or bottles.
cans.
Or what?
Well, God, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, that's so hard. I love aluminum, but I hate cans. I'll put it that way. There we go.
What? Okay, don't leave us hanging.
Oh, I think bottles are. We want to do aluminum bottles.
Yeah. So
Oh.
in Montana, we have the can thing is really popular because people can take cans outside to recreate and stuff. But the canning machines that actually put the beer in the can are awfully hard on the beer. You run into aging problems, oxygen exposure, and we're looking for a way to still utilize the convenience of aluminum, but get away from the problems with the canners.
Yeah, the wide open top is open for exposure when you're dealing with a can. So you're looking at the narrow open bottle, but in aluminum format.
And the machines for bottling on a small scale, like we need, have been much longer in development, and so they've worked out a lot of these kinks already. Whereas the canning process is still pretty new, and they're still kind of refining the technology.
So I asked cans or bottles, and you said kind of both, like bottles in aluminum.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Okay. What's the most challenging beer you've ever made?
Imperial Stout, for sure. It's hard to keep yeast healthy for those high alcohol beers.
If you're going to make a 5-gallon batch at home this weekend, what beer would you make?
What do you think, Kathy?
Probably the raspberry.
I'd probably make some cider.
There you go, yeah.
Cider's getting popular. Are we going to see one on the Phillipsburg lineup pretty soon?
Well, you got to have a winery license for that, since it comes from fruit.
Oh, interesting. Okay, tell me one beer style that you think will be gaining more attention.
Kathy?
I really think, oh gosh, we've got so many good ones, but I really think our California Common that just came out through 4 days ago is amazing. People are just loving it. I think that's going to start getting some attention here shortly.
Yeah, I was going to say basically the same thing. I think anything that kind of skews a little bit lighter is really going to start pushing the industry, kind of back away from the heavy malt, heavy hop, high alcohol beers.
Can you suggest a book for our audience that will help them succeed in opening a brewery?
Well, there's tons of sales books out there that help you, but I got my best inspiration from Dogfish Head. Sam's books are wonderful. If you get a chance, they give you great inspiration. Those are great. And then all the magazines out there. Beer Advocate, we read that every time it comes out. There's also resources on the BA website and then the local state association. Those are what we use.
I'd get a microbiology textbook.
Ew, that's boring.
Sam's book, I know he has Brewing Up a Business. Is there another one you're talking about, Kathy?
There's a newer one, too, and I apologize, I can't remember what that one is. But they're just great reads. He is very humorous, and, these are real things that happened to him, and it's pretty fun to read.
Do you have a specific microbiology book you can recommend, Mike?
Nope, just go down to your local state U and see what they have in the bookstore.
Okay, give us one last piece of advice for someone who just brewed the first batch at their new brewery, and then we'll close up the brew house for the night.
Listen to your customers. They will tell you what they want. And listen to everybody. If they tell you it's bad beer, take it to heart. And that's hard to do.
And I would say get a coffee maker. You're going to need it.
A lot of hours.
Not much sleep, huh?
Not usually.
Well, it's been great talking with you, Kathy and Mike. Thanks for sharing the tips on starting and operating a successful brewery. Tell us how we can stay in touch with you. Then we'll set this episode aside to ferment.
Okay. Well, we have our new website launched last week, so phillipsburgbrewing.com. And we have a Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. And you can always call the brewery if you have any questions, or come see us in downtown Solsburg.
Kathy Smith and Mike Elliott, thanks again for being on MicroBrewr Podcast. I really appreciate you being so generous with your time, especially Mike for jumping in at the last minute. You know, reviewing the interview, it just occurred to me, I don't think we mentioned that you started in 2012. So you guys are just about almost exactly at the 2-year mark. Congratulations on being open for 2 years. And I wish you many great things ahead. Listeners, you're awesome. Every one of you listening now, it's so cool that we made it out of the teens on this podcast now, with this being episode 20. I keep seeing the downloads each week, and I keep seeing new subscribers to the email list and likes on the Facebook page and Twitter followers and all that. It's super cool. And every one of you listening is a part of this, and it's really neat. Thank you. I really want to hear your honest feedback, really. I want to improve and do this better for you, so please leave your comments in the show notes or send me an email directly from the contact form at microbrewer.com/contact. Or at the show notes also, that's where you can get in touch with Phillipsburg Brewing Company and let Kathy and Mike know that you appreciate them being on the show. You could find links to all the resources we talked about. So be sure to go to the show notes at microbrewer.com/session20. Don't forget to subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher if you like the show and you want to have all the episodes come directly to you when they come out. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, support your local brewery, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to MicroBrewr Podcast with Nathan Pierce. We'll see you right here next time at microbrewer.com.
If you want more resources for starting a craft brewery, check out microbrewer.com, microbrewer.com. If you want to become a Cicerone certified beer server, check out beerexamschool.com for free study guide and flashcards for the certified beer server exam. beerexamschool.com.